Welcome back, everybody, to another fantastic episode of the Every Pokemon Episode Ever podcast. I am one of your hosts this week, Wrestling Chris G, and on the other line with me is the Tracy one of the group. It's good old Dougie Fresh. Dougie, my man, how are you doing?
Okay.
I changed it.
I know what that means.
No, you don't.
The hell I don't.
It's a good nickname. You're the Pokemon watcher.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Let that show on the record. I'm a Pokemon watcher.
And as we know in this episode, Pokemon watchers like to watch other things too. Okay, but all right. Today's episode is episode 87, Fit to be Tied, or translated from Japanese, Orange League Natsukan Gym, which premiered February 25th, 1999 in Japan and February 5th, 2000 here in the States. How are you doing today, man? It's been a night, and we just got done peeling the curtain back a little bit with one huge episode of the Orange Islands, and we're about to get into another huge. It's nice to have back-to-back good episodes, bro.
Yeah, and I mean, you kind of got to be happy when you get them because they're not always going to be. You're not always going to get two bangers. You might get one banger, one iffy. You might get a stretch like we had right before Ash went into the Indigo League where he was just doing nothing for 2 months.
For real, and those episodes kind of dragged, but I mean, we made it fun, but it was work. We had to put in some work into those episodes.
Yeah, because you gotta. I mean, how else are you gonna talk about a guy essentially taking a vacation because he didn't want to train?
So, but yeah, this episode, we gym battle alert, everybody. We actually get our first gym battle in this episode, and I have another Brilliant Stars Pokemon pack, which I will be doing the code for a little bit later on in this episode, outside of doing it at the very end. I can actually open it up right now and see if I got two back-to-back black cards, if I can even get it open. This is always they put some extra glue on these games these days. There we go. I swear. All right. It is a black hole back to back. Let's fucking go, bro. Let's go. So I'm not gonna take a look at the card that is in here, but yeah, back to back black cards. I never get back to back black cards.
You're not going to get 3 in a row with that attitude.
Oh, I know. I need to keep my mouth shut. But yeah, this is about to be a really good episode. I don't really have much to really talk about because we kind of got it out in the last episode, bro. Outside of, I'm excited for when we are done to get on into some. Oh wait, today's Tuesday, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Damn, I'm sitting here thinking this whole time it's Wednesday, and I'm about to get some AEW at the end of the night. I got a day. I got a day to wait. I'm gonna switch it up here a little bit, bro. Random code MKX99D4GKXPTP. Everybody, that is your Pokemon Live code, and go ahead and use it as you see fit. And if you didn't hear it the first time, go ahead and rewind this because that is the code. First come, first serve. And are you ready to get on into the episode, bro?
Definitely.
All right. Well, I'm going to switch it up because I like the way that we did it last week with one episode for me and one episode for you. I'm going to have you start this week's episode, if you don't mind, Doug. Do you mind doing
Mm,
that?
that's perfect.
All right, go ahead and start this week's episode, bro.
So we get the narrator saying that we're starting a new adventure, exploring the Orange Islands, and you see Ash, Misty, Tracy, Pikachu, Togepi, and pardon me, they're riding Lapras, and Misty's like, "Ah, we can see that Lapras is having fun." Um, and Tracy's like, even with all three of us riding, Lapras has a really good amount of speed. Yeah, they hit a little mini wave, and Pikachu goes flying, and
Because
A-
Pikachu's not used to this.
and Ash has to use one of the bumps in Lapras's shell to wrap his legs around to lean over backwards and catch him. Um, and Misty's like, there's no hurry, Lapras. We can kind of take our time and enjoy the journey. And Lapras is like, all right, bet, and kind of calms down. And
They're on their way to
Ash,
Mikan Island.
Mike and Island, which I always misheard as Mike and Ike. Um,
Dude, I when I was watching this, I had the subtitles on and I didn't catch the name right away and I was like, did that thing just say Meekin Island? And my son was like, no, that's at Mikan Island. I was like, oh, I was like, okay, you can read. I can't.
and then we get the old Ash trait of being hungry, and Misty's like, well, that's funny because I am too. And then this is when she's like, well, we could stop at Mike and Island and get a bite, and it just so happens that there's a gym there as well, and Ash's ears perk up, and he's like, "You hear that, Pikachu? We can go challenge a gym leader." Pikachu's
That's the number one thing that Ash is just ready for. He's like, oh, really? Okay, let's go now. He's like just the eager 10-year-old in him.
and Ash immediately flips the script, and he's like, "Full speed ahead to Mike and Island." So never mind the whole take it easy, enjoy the ride. And then,
And then we're hit with Team Rocket.
yes, they are
And
in a Magikarp submarine.
and this Magikarp is their budget is so low that it doesn't even have its own engine, everybody. So this Magikarp is one where you have to pedal and they're just pedaling and Jesse's like or James is like, Jesse, we've been pedaling down here for so long, and Jesse's like, well, we lost the boss's blimp and if we don't get a rare Pokemon fast, he's gonna kick us off of Team Rocket for good. And they're all like, that's ridiculous. And you hear one of them go, the boss can't just discard me like an old shoe. And that was James. And freaking Meowth is in here. He's like, we've got to capture a Pokemon or the boss is going to give us all the boot. And then all of a sudden they're like trying to get their way through all the weeds, and they're caught, and they're like, oh shit, the pedal's stuck. And we get an outside view, and the Magikarp is caught in a whole bunch of weeds, and it is sinking quick. And boy, this thing is falling all the way to the bottom. And if this was one of the very first episodes, the freaking submarine will be filling up with water right now.
Yes.
And then we go straight from that to the title scene that is called Fit to Be Tied. And boy, does this hold up to its name. So, Doug, I'm going to hand this part, the next scene, over to you. And they are approaching Mikan Island.
So we see an approaching shot of the island, and then we're on the island, and this is when we get official confirmation that Ash did off screen during last week's episode catch Lapras because he returns it to a Pokeball.
Yes.
So, um,
Do you think he did
I,
that back on the island before they even got to this island? Because how could he have caught that Lapras um, in the water without all of
I
them getting in the water.
I think it's this. It was the scene that we missed right before because when Nurse Joy said, "Oh, it looks like Lapras has decided to join you," Ash is like, "Yeah." So I think when they got to land, I think we missed the scene of, "Would you like to come with us, Lapras?" And Lapras was like, "Yeah."
They're like we only have a couple minutes left in this episode. We can't show him catching it, but we'll imply it in the next one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll officially show it next week, but yeah. So I think that's what happened. And then so Ash is like, thanks for getting us to the island. Now we can take you to the Pokemon Center and get a treatment. And we hear the Pokemon Center music, which me not gonna lie, gave me a little bit of tingles. It's kind of cool. Um, it's so identifiable. Um, and they're in the Pokemon Center, checking in with Professor Oak. And he said, "Oh, how are Togepi and Pikachu doing today?" And they're just waving. They're like, "We're having fun. We were on a Lapras. We were in the water." And then Tracy's like, "I'm doing fine too, Professor." And Oak's like, "Oh, the fuck are you?" And this is when we get Tracy's full name for the first time, Tracy Sketchit. And for those of you wondering, that is spelled Sketchit. Sketchit.
Get it?
Oh,
Get
I got it. I didn't get it right away. I didn't get it right away when I was watching it the first time. Not today, but the first time, like when these episodes were new, I didn't get it. But I wasn't very bright. Still not. Um, and he's like, "I'm a Pokemon watcher," and folks like, "Ah, I see." And he's like, "I've admired you for a long time, Professor." And screen is complete, and then Muck starts kind of roughhousing with Oak, and Ash is like, "I got something to tell you, Professor." He's like, "I caught a Lapras." Oak's like, "Oh, good shit. Make sure to train it well." And he's like, "Oh, I will. We'll talk to you soon, Professor." And freaking Oak gets
Muck.
tackled, just blah. And it's
Muck
like,
Muck is Muck must be smelling extra fresh these days because Professor Oak doesn't seem to be gagging every time he's around Muck anymore.
I think his nose adjusted.
And Muck is just he's like, stop hanging on me, Muck. He's Ash is like, we'll talk to you again soon, Professor. And Muck is like, no, no, Ash, say hi to me. Say hi. I miss you. Hey, come here. And then he like just pushes Professor Oak over to the ground. The three, our three heroes are just looking at the computer like, what the hell just happened here? And then the phone kind of hangs up. And then we're out on the road again, and Tracy is basically talking up the island to Misty and Ash, and he Ash is like he's like Professor Oak was the one who gave me Pikachu, and Misty's like I had no idea that Professor Oak was so famous, and Tracy's like, are you kidding? He's like, I bet just about every Pokemon watcher in the world dreams of having one of their reports reviewed by Professor Oak. I sure hope to get to meet him soon. And Missy's like, sounds like Professor Oak is a superstar. Huh. I guess I'll have to get his autograph then. And Togepi's like, okay. And Doug, I'm going to switch it over to you again.
Um, so
Doug.
Tracy's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, I bet every Pokemon watcher in the world's been wanting to get a some of their findings reviewed by Professor Oak." He's just completely just fanboying out, and um, like I hope I get to meet him one day, and I'm behind. Um, and Ash is like, "Well, enough of that. I mean, we got a goal to get. We're gonna get to this gym here, and let's get this figured out." And then they walk for a bit, and we see it approaching over a hill, and Ash takes off, and he's running at a full sprint, and he stops. And why does he stop? because he sees a coconut on the ground.
And he runs over to this coconut. He's like, I'm going to crack this coconut open and drink all of the milk. And then as soon as he grabs the coconut, he gets drenched in water. And then a kid pops up and is like, you're a Pokemon trainer? You're trying to come over here and challenge the Pokemon gym leader, and you're falling for an old trick like that? He's like, what kind of trainer can you be? And Ash is like, I made it. I was in the Pokemon League. And the kid's like, how far did you get in the Pokemon League? Dead last. And he was like, top 16. And he's like, huh, so you didn't even make it that far in the Pokemon League. And he's like, if that's the best you can do, you might as well just go home. He's like, the Orange League's a whole lot tougher. And he's like, you come inside and watch how tough I am. And the kid's like, if you want to get in, you have to battle me first. Doug?
And he takes out his Pokeball, but we don't get to find out what he's got because um, we off screen we hear, "Are you causing trouble again?" And we see a woman in some orange cargo pants and a black tank top, and and she's like, "You were supposed to be cleaning your room," and the kid's like, "Well, I was sissy, but then I saw these people wandering around out here and caught this kid sneaking around." And Ash is like, "That's not true. I came to challenge the gym leader. I'm a trainer." And she's like, "Oh, you did? Well, lucky for you. My name is Sissy, and I'm the gym leader here in Micah Island." And this is a bullshit line from Ash. I was frustrated because he's like, "I was expecting a male trainer. Why?"
Yeah, why? And Misty immediately goes, she must have beat all the men. Just kind of backing him up.
And yeah, it was, and then we see Tracy is focused on his sketch, and he's kind of under his breath. He's like, "I need to make some observations," and Misty, she gets like she gets squinty eyes, and she's got like the anime bead of sweat on her forehead, and she's like, what exactly are you observing there, fella?" And
Tracy's being a pervert.
he's just completely lost in his drawing, and then we go inside the gym, and Sissy, which by the way, in case again you're curious, it's Cissy.
Yes.
Um, not what I was expecting.
No, not,
Um,
I wasn't either. But, I think when they were making the subtitles to this episode, they're like, yeah, we can't type that word. So we're going to make it an
oh,
actual name.
that's a fair point. I didn't even register that. So Sissy's like, well, since you're a squirt, we're gonna use water Pokemon. Which kind of clever. And Ash is like, who are you calling a squirt? And Pikachu's like, clearly you. Um, and the little brat's like, you're a squirt, you're a squirt, you're a squirt. And
And she's like, you
Sissy's
better
like,
be
you shouldn't.
quiet.
She's like, you shouldn't be talking shit because you're a smaller squirt than he is. And
I wonder how old this kid is, because she said that's her little brother. So where's her parents? I'm just saying.
well, you know, the old conspiracy theory is every adult died in the Poke War,
Yeah, that's that's the going theme here. All the males.
except unless you're old or a scientist. So Ash is like, how many Pokemon do we get to use in this battle? Um, and Sissy's like, ho ho ho, not so fast, Chief. She's like, that's not how we do things around here. And she's like, blah. And
And
she's like, at the Orange Island gyms, we do a lot more than battle with each other's Pokemon.
we we have competitions here. And she's like, we don't just have battles. And Ash is like, what do you mean? And she's like, we will decide a match in two different challenges. Hit it. And she has her brother hit a button, and then this wall kind of comes down, and you see a bunch of soda cans or pop cans, depending on if you're in the country. Um,
Or if you're really in the country, it's just all Coke
yep, all Coke, or if you're really really down there, it's soda pop.
soda pop.
Soda pop. Um, and he also hits another button, and the floor opens up, and it's a big old pool. And she's like, Cedra, I choose you. Cedra goes and is in the water. Now, has Ash never seen a Cedra in the whole Kanto region?
Is not.
Oh
And
man.
the closest he got was a horsey. And I'm trying to think if there even was a seizure during the movie, but even if it was, it never happened. Remember, he got his mind wiped.
Yeah, he got his mind wiped. Oh man. Um I,
So we
yeah, sorry. Oh, okay. But yeah, he uses his Dexter, and Cedra just like completely wets his face and has no
because he
respect for
talks
Ash.
shit.
Yeah.
No. Ash talks shit because we find out that Seizur's a dragon type Pokemon, and it's kind of ornery, and it has a lot of strength and speed. And Ash out loud, I mean, clearly, I mean, so at least the Seizure heard it. Said, well, and it's not going to win any beauty contests either. And the Seizure's like, hey, fuck you, buddy. He's blah. And yeah, kind of fuck him in that respect. And fair, and Sissy's kind of like, don't be talking shit to my Pokemon. And um, we're gonna start with a water gun challenge. Ash is like, what's a water gun challenge? I can't use context. Um, I can't look over to my left and see that there's cans against that wall. Um, and she's like, whichever Pokemon can use its water gun the best and, you know, complete the test is going to win the challenge. And, my gym is head to head, one on one competitions. And Togepi's like, oh, this is some shit. And she's like, watch my Seadra warm up. And the little kid blows out some bubbles. And Seadra is just one shotting each of those bubbles, just pang, 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 pang. And
And
he's like, not.
I mean, the Cedra is on point when when it's doing it. It's like if people are watching the newer episodes, it's like Janinja's snipe shot, because Janinja has this thing where it's like a 007 character, and it takes its fingers in the shape of a gun, and it just bing, 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 just like straight shots. And that's kind of how the Seadra is.
It's pretty dope.
Oh, real dope, bro. Real dope. And so let's see. All right. So as Seadra is doing its shots, Ash is telling Squirtle, he's like, I have to admit that Squirtle looks like it's gonna be a really good loser. She's like, I hope it's a good loser. And she's like, water gun now. Cedra goes over and starts hitting all of the cans. And then Tracy's like, whoa, she hit every one of them dead center. And Missy's like, I don't know if Squirtle can match that. And Ash is like, all right, Squirtle, aim, fire. And Squirtle's like, spit, spit, spit. And somehow the three spits turn into five, and he hits five cans instead of the three that Cedra had hit. And Missy's like, oh, so maybe Squirtle does have it. And Tracy's like, maybe if my sketches are good enough, I can send them over to Professor Roke so he can review them. And frickin' Psyduck ends up into the shot, and Missy's like, Psyduck, we don't need any headaches right now from you. Get back in your Pokeball. And Psyduck's like, Psy? And then Cedra goes in, hits three more cans, and Squirtle hits three more cans. And we go back to Psyduck, and Psyduck is bouncing the damn. Psyduck has some balance. He's bouncing this GS ball on his head, on his feet, like a freaking pro soccer player, Doug.
And Misty goes over and she's like, knock that off. The GS ball isn't a toy. Um, get back in your Pokeball before I start bouncing you around. And Psyduck's like, oh shit. And Seadra and Squirtle both knock out their last cans. And both trainers are very complimentary. It's like, that's not bad. And Sissy's like, now we're going to try moving targets. And Kid hits a button, and the rear wall of the building um, goes up into the ceiling and down into the floor. And he hits a button, and one of those clay discs that they use for skeet shooting comes out, and Caesar just pang, and he just obliterates it. And Misty's like, "That's a good shot." And um, Tracy's like, "Yeah."
It's
And then
like
we
disc
see that,
golf, basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we see that Tracy's working on a sketch of Cedra right as he's getting ready to fire.
So Cedra is going over, and uh, Ash is like, "This is gonna be a quick draw," and the little boy is like, "All right, it's time." We get some dramatic music, and they're getting ready to go over and start the disc golf. And now it's the disc golf is going out, and whoever hits the disc golf first is going to be the winner. And they both hit it, and it's a crossfire. And then Tracy's like, "Well, they both hit it at the exact same time." And Misty's like, "Shit." And Ash is like,
I wish you would have just shit.
and Ash and Sissy are just looking, and they're like, "It looked that way to me too." So this match is a draw. And then Cedra's like, "The fuck is a draw?" And Ash is like, "Well, great job, Squirtle. You really came through." And then the little boy, her brother, walks over. He's like, "Now what do we do?" She's like, "Don't worry, little brother. There is a way to break a tie. The way to break a tie is with a Pokemon Wave Ride." And Ash is like, "Pokemon Wave Ride?" And we get the who's that Pokemon, and it's Primate. Why the fuck is it Primate? I have no fucking idea, because I can guarantee you that he is not in the next episode. It's just a Pokemon that they haven't done a who's that Pokemon on yet. And we come back.
Even though we've done a primate episode.
Yeah. You know, something we didn't allude to that I'm just now noticing. Do you know what this gym looks like? Like
What does it
after
look
after we come back, freeze frame on 1147, bro, or as
like?
close that as or as close to that as you can get. This looks like a soda can,
Oh my god.
does it not?
Oh, it definitely does. You can see the pop tab and everything.
Yeah,
Son of a gun.
I know. And so Sissy is over here, and she's like, "Are you ready for a Pokemon Wave Ride?" And Ash is like, "Yeah, just tell me what it is." And she's like, "The Pokemon just have to swim around that flag and return and come back. And the first one to come back wins." And Ash is like, "This will be easy." She sends out her Blastoise, and Blastoise looks like a freaking just macho beast. He's like, "Blastoise." And Ash is like, "I've got the best way to beat Blastoise, and I know how. Lapras, I choose you." Luckily, you got Lapras in the last episode, because you would be shit out of luck if you didn't. And
He'd
Lapras,
be riding that. He'd be riding that Squirtle like a boogie board.
I would pay money to see that. I got an image in my head, bro. And Lapras gives off a nice squeal, and she's like, "Do you think you can win a little swimming race?" And Lapras is like, "Of course I can. I'm one of the fastest swimmers out here." And Ash is like, "That's the spirit." And Tracy even alludes to it, and he's like, Lapras is one of the strongest swimmers that there is. And Sissy's like, let's get started. And as soon as this goes off, the race is on. And Doug, I'm
Kid's
gonna
got a kid's got a gun. I don't like that.
for real, he's got a nice little flare gun. I'm gonna send this over to you because they're about to go over the rules, which we did not expect going into this race, Doug.
So they're getting ready to go, and right before
Oh, Team
can
Rocket back. I forgot.
jump the gun a little bit. Don't worry, it's very forgettable. And the submarine finally resurfaces, and three of Team Rocket pop out, and they're like, land. Um, and Sissy's like, do you need first aid? And she's like, no, but we need you to prepare for trouble. And they um, start doing their song, and Misty and Ash are just over it. They're like, it's the same shit every time. But Ash is like, well, to be fair, they changed up the beginning a little bit. Um, and Sissy leans over to Ash and goes, do you know what they're talking about? And Ash is like, well, not a fucking clue. Um, but we're used to it by now, and they're just doing their shit. Team Rocket hasn't stopped. They're just doing it because they're just happy to be out of the submarine. And James was like, "Oh, it's so good to breathe fresh air. I didn't know if we were gonna make it." Um, Meow's like, "My 9 lives flashed before my eyes." Um, and from the shore, Ash is like, "Can you go away now?" But James is like, "Go away? Fuck you! Do you know what we went through to get here? We were tangled in seaweed, and I bravely volunteered to go out and check." Translation: a flashback. He lost a draw, and
and had to go out there, and he untangled everything and almost drowned, completely almost drowned, because the freaking submarine started floating back up to shore, and that's where they are right now.
and so we see, and he's like, it was like something out of a awful made-for-TV movie, and he starts crying, and Meowth just walks over with a freaking cartoon mallet, like Seth Rollins, just bonk, and he's like, quit your whining and get over yourself. Look over there, we've got a 2-for-1 shot. They're looking at Lapras and Blastoise, and James is like, you're right, I'm going to make this a touching story of personal triumph over personal tragedy, and he throws out his wheezing um, to use guessing smog and fire the net out of the Magikarp, and it completely um, snares Blastoise. And they're like, "Ah, the net's not big enough to get them both." And they're like, "That's okay. We'll come back for a second helping." And somehow that submarine has enough strength to drag a fully uncooperative Blastoise into the water. And Ash is like, "You got to do something. They're taking your Pokemon." And she's like, "Oh, Blastoise will handle them." And we see that the submarine is sinking because Blastoise is a big boy, and they're also
Blastoise
tangled again.
Blastoise is a big motherfucker who is strong. This might be the strongest Blastoise that I think we've seen, and I know most all Blastoise that are animated are fucking like they all look the same, but for some reason this one looks a lot buffer to me, bro. I mean, I don't know what do you think?
No, I could see that because Sissy does seem like the type where she is very committed to training her Pokemon, and I don't think it would be too big of a stretch to say that Blastoise is her go-to. And yeah, I mean, I Sissy looks very athletic herself,
Yeah,
and
he does.
I'm sure Blastoise has had quite a few of these one-on-one contests.
So it's from here that Blastoise or well, Jesse and James they have a nice little line. They're like, "Oh, we let our catcher today get away, and the boss is gonna have us on a platter." And freaking, we have Blastoise get ready with its guns, and Ash is like, "These guys never learn." And freaking Pikachu runs over and he runs over to the water and he's like, Pikachu, and nice little thunder shock straight over to Jesse and James, and they all shriek. Blastoise gets his cannons ready and just bam, and all of Team Rocket just starts blasting away again, and that's the last of Team Rocket that we have in this episode.
Right.
Oh, and and I don't know about you, but those 2 minutes of Team Rocket in this episode was enough for me. In this episode, at least.
Yeah, I mean, let's let Ash get established on the Orange Islands before Team Rocket becomes a serious threat again.
Yeah.
So yeah, now that Team Rocket is um, out of the picture, getting ready for the race, and Sissy says to Blastoise, "Are you ready?" And Blastoise is like, "Fuck yeah!" And Ash is like, "Go out there and do your best, Lapras." And she's like, "All right." And all of a sudden, we hear Sissy say, "Get on!" And she's like, she's mounted on one of Blastoise's cannons. She's like, the trainer has to ride the Pokemon during the race, and Ash is just he's weebling and wobbling,
He has no idea how to ride this damn Lapras, but he finds out damn quick.
and Ash is like, "Don't worry, I'm just gonna be just fine." And Sissy's like, "I mean, you could quit right now." Ash is like, "I'm a winner, not a quitter." And the kid shoots off that little pop gun, and I mean, I even though it's just a pop gun, um, and the race is on, and Misty's like, "You can beat her, Ash," and Ash is hanging on for dear life, and the it's like it's neck and neck, and Ash tells Lapras to try to move to the inside, and Sissy says, "Don't let him get there," and they kind of do a little collision, and Tracy's like, "Ash is gonna get knocked off of that thing," and Ash is like, "Try for the inside," and they go in and they meet in the middle again, and they're just and um, she's like, "The kid's got guts, but you've got strength." And Blastoise just goes in full bore and just bang, and Ash goes flying, and Lapras has to reach down with its freaking mouth and catch him. But in the confusion and the kerfuffle, Blastoise is able to take the lead into the first, not into the first, into the turn around the buoy, and they're heading back towards the shore. And Ash is able to catch up. And they're neck and neck and neck and neck and neck, and the kid's like, "Don't let him beat you, sissy." And
Lapras lets out a nice little ice beam. To,
yes, because they're about to get swallowed up by a wave,
yup.
and as soon as Lapras lets out that ice beam, Ash is like, "That's an ice beam. I should be a better trainer." Um,
I had no idea that Lapras could use an ice beam. But Ash, no joke. I mean, and I know Ash had no idea that this would happen, but Lapras freezes half of the wave, and the other half of the wave comes crashing down full force into Sissy, busts her off of Blastoise, and she goes flying. And Blastoise has to go in for the save. And
and
she falls, and she's not riding I mean, she's riding, but she's not gliding on this Blastoise anymore, which I think is kind of against the rules, because she said you kind of need to surf your Pokemon. But
that's a fair point.
I mean, Ash should have had, but no, she does. She gets back up and starts surfing it again, and she catches back up to Lapras and passes him real strong. Lapras lets out an ice beam again, jumps on and starts surfing the ice beam or the ice in the water so it can catch up to Blastoise, and they get down to the finish line, and it's a photo finish, and Lapras wins. Doug.
Iron knows,
Yes.
and um, and Lapras is able to stop. In the process of stopping, Ash goes full bore into a goddamn tree and just wham, and um, Pikachu has to run over, and he's like, "I made it, and we won," and they're laughing. Ash probably has a concussion, but nobody cares. Um, like, well, that was a great race, and uh, that was a nice idea to ride Lapras's ice beam like that. Um, and the kid's like, "Yeah, that was pretty cool." And she goes over and she's like, "I could see why you made it so far in the Indigo League. I'll bet you'll be a pretty decent shot in the Orange League as well." And she hands him a coral eye badge,
It's a seashell.
which is a seashell, and that's what Ash says. And she's like, "Yeah, all the badges in the Orange Islands are made of shells," which is badass. And he has to do his hero anime pose. He's like, "I got a coral eye badge," and Pikachu does the anime peace sign, and um, they're like, "Well, that's a great, Ash. Don't give yourself or don't get ahead of yourself. You weren't the only one out there." Lapras is like, "Fucking ain't right. That was my ice beam anyway." Um, and Misty, and then they're on the way away from
They're leaving the island, and
leaving the island,
Tracy is over there sketching up Sissy again.
and what is and he's like, "It was so cool to see a trainer like that in action," and Misty has probably the line of the episode as we're leaving, and she gets all squinty eyed again. She's like, "I thought
Thought
you
you
were
were
a
a
Pokemon
Pokemon
watcher."
watcher, which
And
is
Tracy's
why,
like,
which is why you're
"Ah,"
the Tracy of the episode, Doug. Bring it back home.
and then we get the narrator, and we get out of here.
And that was this week's episode. And bro, if this is how the Orange Islands are going to be, I'm going to really love doing these episodes because I know what the outcome is, but I'm a little fuzzy on how we get there in some
Sure.
episodes. But this is going to be very, very fun. And I know you normally go first, but I'm gonna take the ball here, and I'm gonna give this one another 4 star because I thoroughly enjoyed this, and we had the gym battle, and we got educated into how Pokemon gym battles go in the Orange League. Doug?
I'm gonna give it a 4.5 because of the gym battle, and because it wasn't just a straight battle. It was like it was a skill competition, and there was drama in the race, and find out that Lapras knows Ice Beam, which was dope,
Yup.
and yeah. So I mean, I'm gonna and I like the fact that the all the badges in the Orange Islands are shell based. I think that's so cool. Oh yeah, I'm confident again in saying 4.5.
Okay. And then that brings us into our Pokemon pack open. And Doug, I'm going to tell you to think outside of the box. It's not your normal energy card that I'm getting ready to reveal on the podcast. So think outside the box and see if you can get a 2 for 2.
Not a normal energy.
It's one that we didn't grow up with that you had on the show about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, poop on a stick. I'm drawing a blank, and I'm not gonna.
No, it's okay. It's a dragon energy card. The dragon energy. And then I have a trainer cafe master, a gabite, a grotto, a spiritum, a burmy, an imp, impidimp. I think that's how you say it. A staryu, a rilo. My reverse hollow is a golurk. And I have, oh shit, oh shit. I got a Mimikyu VMAX card. Let's fucking go. Let's go. That is the card of the night, and that is going in a sleeve. I'm good for the night. Tonight's a good night, bro. Tonight is a
Oh,
really
nice.
good fucking night. So, yes. All right, but do you have anything else to add on this episode, bro?
I sure as heck can't top that. So I don't think so.
All right, well, then go ahead and say goodbye, Doug.
Bye, Doug.
And this is Wrestling Chris G telling all of you thank you for listening to this week's episode, and don't miss another one next week because you're going to love it, everybody. Other than that, have a good night and be safe out there.